To talk about the best 5 ways that I've found to help save a bunch of money. So a lot of people ask how we can afford stuff like the Onewheels, e-bikes, motorhomes, boats. So I thought I'd try to explain some of the ways that I have found that help me save a bunch of money. But before I begin, I really need to, I can't stress enough how lucky I am, right? I mean, I was born here in the United States, which with all the opportunities that affords, and then also had amazing parents that were very supportive, loving, and a really awesome extended family. It's not like I worked hard and got all that stuff. I got that for free. So I'm super lucky to have that. And then the fact that my dad was an engineer turned finance business owner that also gave me a really good, or at least a different understanding of how money works and how I could have money work for me. The intent of this video really is to try to, kind of pass on to you guys any of the stuff that I've learned over the years that's worked well for me, and if it can help out a couple of you guys and do a little bit better with money or make money work for you better in a way that is helpful, then this video will be a success for me. So with that, first thing is, if you're gonna buy stuff, buy used and buy old. This boat that I'm in right now, it looks beautiful. It's an amazing boat and we absolutely love it. It's a 1988. It's really old, but it's been really well taken care of, and it's cheaper than a lot of boats around me's dinghies. But this thing is massive, but because it's old and used, people don't value it as much. And the nice thing is it's pretty much depreciated at this point, so it's not gonna depreciate a whole lot more or drop in value much more as we've owned it. Whereas if I bought a brand new boat, it would plummet in value and I'd just be throwing that money away after the first couple years of owning it. Same thing with a car. So the reason I'm able to afford this boat, the biggest reason out of anything else that I've done, honestly, and I don't ever show this on any of my other YouTube videos, but my daily driver car since 2006 has been a 2001 Volkswagen Jetta TDI. I bought it with 170, I think, thousand miles on it. It's got 350,000 miles on it now. It gets 50 miles per gallon, and I paid, I think, 8,000 bucks for that car. If you look at AAA estimates that the average American spends around $9,000 a year to own a car. I spent less than that on my Jetta that I bought back in 2006. So it's been 15 years now of saving effectively 9,000 bucks a year. And then on top of all that, I learned to do my own maintenance on the car. And YouTube is a fantastic tool for that. I really wasn't that mechanically inclined, and I'm still not the greatest. It's really not that hard to do all this stuff. And if I can do that stuff, I know that anybody else can as well, because it's really not that difficult. YouTube basically shows you how to do everything. So if you Google, AC compressor change on 2001 Jetta, you can just jack the car up and drive on some ramps that cost 20 bucks from Walmart or some other auto parts store, and you can tear that thing apart in a half a day. And what I find that is very helpful for me to motivate me to do that kind of stuff, I'll call up a dealership and get a quote for, hey, I need an AC compressor replaced on my Jetta, and how much is that going to cost? And they'll tell me, $1,300. And I'll go and look at the parts, and it's $80 or $130. A lot of times I'll use a site like Rock Auto or even Amazon, and YouTube a lot of times will recommend that as well, or message forums. But people have done these things and they're really not that complicated, and you can save an enormous amount of money. So that $1,200 now that would have cost for me to go to the dealership, that I'm going to spend $100 on parts and maybe $100 on tools that I don't have. So I'm spending $200, but I've saved $1,000. And then it's like, all right, well, maybe then I'll pocket half of that and let myself spend half that, because I just effectively saved myself $1,000, so I'll go buy a new electric skateboard this month. And then the cool thing is, I maybe not buy a new electric skateboard. So that was another thing that I'm not sure that I brought up in all my videos, but the first Onewheel that I bought, I purchased used. The first boosted board I bought, I purchased used. And I bought them for about half the new value, and I felt very confident that if I did not like them, that I could go back and sell them for just about what I bought for them and not lose any money at all, because I bought them used and they're still fairly sought after. I ended up keeping them because I really liked them, but that was the mindset that I had when I bought them, to try to make sure that I was saving as much money as possible. If you do end up getting any value out of this video, or if you like seeing dolphins swimming around, then hit the like button, and that definitely helps the video out, and I really appreciate it. All right, number 2, spend less money than you make. Now, this may sound easy, but it really is a big one. If you have the mindset to always spend less money than you make, then you're always going to be okay. So I've gone so far as to set up automatic savings every time I get money. So from my paycheck, it directly goes into savings account, investing accounts, all that kind of stuff. And that really helps make sure that I'm kind of paying myself first, taking care of the future first, and whatever's left, then I figure out how I want to spend. What's really awesome is that once you start doing automatic investing, especially if you're young, and you get the power of compound interest. And that's where that money that you start investing will just start to grow over time exponentially. It starts off, doesn't look like a whole lot, but if you keep doing it consistently, it can turn into a ton of money. Literally $5 a day can turn into $500,000 after 40 years. If you just do $5 a day, $5 a day, $5 a day. I mean, it's amazing. I'll put some links in the description, some online calculators that are really fun to play around with, just get you kind of thinking about how little changes very early on, consistently over time. Oh, hello, helicopter. Very small changes over time can really snowball into some big savings in the future. So I definitely encourage you to start playing around with that. All right, number 3, budget. I've seen a lot of recent news articles that are saying you shouldn't budget. And at least for me, I cannot get on board with that at all. I think that you're really, and really when I actually dug into some of these articles, it basically said to budget, it just didn't want to call it a budget. So, hey, if you don't like the B word and hearing the word budget, makes you queasy or makes you nervous or you don't like it, then definitely call it something else. But really what it comes down to is knowing the amount of money that you have coming in and the amount of money that you have going out. You really got to know that. And I know from personal experience and from helping out some of my friends and family that it can be very easy to not know that. And especially when you have bills that are coming in different times of the month, you have, debt, student loans, all that kind of stuff. It just can be daunting, and it's just easier just to ignore it. When you have money, you pay it and you just kind of forget about it. But I can't stress enough, you gotta write all the stuff down, and there's something really powerful about writing it all down and looking at what it is. And you can go into your bank accounts and your statements and things like that and just go back a couple months and just write everything down and see where you spent money. And you might find that there's a lot of things that you spent more money on that you didn't realize. I know I did personally. Some of my friends were definitely surprised with the amount of money they're spending on certain items. It's a really worthwhile exercise. And if you can find somebody else that can help you do that, and then help to hold you accountable for any changes that you want to make, that's even better. If you got like a family member that that you feel like is good with money, reach out to them and just like, hey, can you help me kind of go through my finances? And a lot of people aren't lucky like I was that had, friends and family that were willing to talk about money. And so it's this kind of scary thing. If you can get other people on board with helping you, just like going to the gym, you got to have that gym buddy to kind of motivate you to go. And if you can get someone else to help you, with whatever you're trying to do with money, it can be very, very powerful. So if you can't find anybody, you can look on places like Yelp and look for financial advisors, or on Dave Ramsey's website, he has his ELPs. Those can be very helpful as well. Just always be careful. I mean, because you want to find someone that's had good reviews, because anytime someone's taking money from you, you got to make sure you understand where their incentives are. But as long as they're getting good reviews from people and they've been helping people, I think that'd be totally fine to go that route as well. All right, number 4. Think long term. This is really a mindset thing, but it is so powerful for me. So let me give an example. Say you absolutely love Starbucks coffee, $4 a day, and you really want to get it. It just gives you a ton of joy. So you get that Starbucks coffee. You're like, yeah, it's $4, it's whatever. It's not a whole lot of money. But if you do that 365 times a year, you're talking $1,500. I'd much rather go out and spend $200 on a fancy coffee machine, and then a $50 Costco membership, and then a 20-pound bag of Starbucks coffee from Costco that'll last a year or half a year. Then you're talking, you've only spent $250 and you've got coffee for the whole year, and it's the same coffee, and you can probably make it to taste just about the same as well. So even though it may cost a little bit more now you've cut out that monthly expense, that daily expense that you were spending, and then you really kind of shrunk that down. So that's why, like, whenever I'm looking at things that are especially recurring things, I like to multiply them out times a year. Or in the coffee, say if you're doing $1,500 of coffee every year, you do 10 years, that's $15,000. And then if you had invested that money, if you were investing that $1,500 every year and had the compound interest, you're talking about a lot of money that you could be saving just by cutting out stuff like coffee. Definitely think that through, and see, anytime you see any of those small purchases that you're doing over and over again, see if there's a way that you can either do it at home or cut it out. Unless it's adding a tremendous amount of joy to your life and there's no way for you to do it cheaper, then I would highly recommend looking at a way to cut it out to save that money. That leads me into my 5th and final thing, and that's get out of debt. If you're paying interest to someone else, especially on something that loses value, like a depreciating asset, so something that, like a car, that's going to most likely be dropping in value over time, it's going to be really hard for you to save money. I was real lucky when I was young. I would do stuff around the house, do chores and things like that, and I'd get paid to do that. There was this little watch I wanted, and I didn't have enough money for it, but my dad gave me a loan, and he charged me interest for it, and he said, hey, you know, give me $5 right now, and then every time you're cutting the grass or whatever for the next few months, you're just gonna give me all that money. That taught me a lot because, you know, after I bought the watch, 2 months later, I didn't really want the watch anymore. It was like I was done, you know. It was like the rush from getting it and getting that new thing that I really wanted had worn off, and now I just had this watch that I don't even really care about anymore, but I'm having to keep working to pay for this thing. That taught me at a super early age that I really didn't like debt, and I wanted to not have to be in debt unless I really had to. One of the things that I still continue to do to this day to help with that is when I want something, or I think there's going to be something that's going to add value to my life, I'll maybe add it to an Amazon cart or take a note or something like that, and I won't buy it until the end of the month or the next month. I'll just let it sit there. And I find that is so powerful for me personally to not buy things, because by the time I, you know, got a month later, it's like, oh, I've already moved on, or there's something else that's even more important now that I need. And I'm like, well, man, I'm really glad I didn't spend that money. And then I'll probably wait on that thing and then realize that I didn't need that either. And all those things just help me to kind of cut down on the spending. And another thing that helps me a lot is to really not be on social media that much. Like you notice, I don't really post on Instagram or even go on there. I deleted it from my phone. Obviously, I'm making this YouTube video, but I don't consume as much of that content. And when you don't have as much of that comparative stuff, it really makes it a lot easier to not want as many things either, and then start realizing what you actually want or value. And that's been very helpful for me and for my wife. And so with all that, if you can get away with not getting a loan for things and not going into debt, I mean, I would highly recommend doing that. So that's my, you know, relatively quick top 5 ways that I have that save me a bunch of money. That's how I was able to save up enough money to buy this boat that we live in, have the motorhome that we have. A lot of it comes down to just reducing my spending, cutting out all those little things, staying out of debt, and buying old and buying used. That's another thing too. The motorhome that we have is $19.99 as well, so it's not new either. I'll also put some more links for some books that I've read that I really like that can be helpful. I really think that, you know, the more that you can surround yourself with different trains of thought, with whether that be people or books or even YouTube videos or whatever, to kind of get you going the direction that you want to go, I think the better. A book that I really liked was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'll put a link to Audible so you can get like a free 2-week trial if you want to listen to that. Just make sure though, if you want to just use the free trial, that you put an alert in your phone to cancel it in 2 weeks so you don't have to get this recurring payment every time. I don't want to be encouraging spending all this extra money. Now, I do think the Audible thing can be very helpful, because I think reading and having that reinforcement of those kind of thoughts is very good. But if you're at a place where you don't want to spend that money, make sure you cancel the membership after 2 weeks. Another book that I think is very helpful for kind of changing your mindset is How to Fail at Just About Everything by Scott Adams. He's the guy that created the cartoon Dilbert. It's really fascinating. Listen to all the different path that he went through on his career to kind of get where he is, and all the trials and tribulations, and kind of what he's learned and how to change mindsets and all that stuff. So I think it's another really good one. So I hope this video helps at least a few of you. If it helps just a few people to kind of think differently about money and save up some money and be able to kind of change the path you're on to, you know, get the things that you want or do the things that you want to do, then this video was a success as far as I'm concerned. So if you found this video helpful, definitely hit a like down below. I can, you know, throw up a little more, maybe a manatee or a sea turtle if that helps. And anyway, I'd love to know in the comments below what kind of things that you guys do for helping to save money. And if you have any other questions for me, definitely hit it up down there and let me know if this was helpful. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. And you have take 10. So basically, like, the name of the book that I just read, I can't, blanking.